What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Sorry. I have to always get that itch in my throat. How is everybody doing tonight? Sorry for the late stream, and sorry for no Paranormal Tuesday. I've been having some issues with the car, and that put me behind today. But, yeah, as a lot of you guys are seeing, yes, Kegan had a brother, half-brother, and he came out and spoke on the Murder Sheet podcast. And so we'll listen to some of it and talk about it. And so, what's up, Russian Aloha? What's up, Lady M? What's up, Jill? Let's go through. What's up, Ronnie? What's up, Kit? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And Dog Defender. You know, when I see your name, Dog Defender, I want to say Dodge Fender. It's just my mind because Dodge. But I love that name. What's up, Kit? What's up, Erica? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As I said, I know it's a little late, but I think with there's just been so much coming out in the last couple days. I know, the honey thing. I know, I need to do that before. I keep forgetting that. So, what's up, Cray Cray? So, before we get into the big story, let's just give a little update on, because earlier I did a show and there was an Amber Alert, and there was a 14-year-old girl who ended up getting kidnapped yesterday. And so I did a report on it, and I'd assume that he'd kind of made it probably to Texas because she was taken yesterday. And he was from Texas, and sure enough, they did pick him up, and the girl has been rescued. So the 14-year-old girl was rescued, and David Lopez is in jail, or in custody anyway. So that's good news. So that is awesome, because we kind of covered that earlier today. And for me and like Jill, for people that from around Utah, we got those Amber Alerts going off earlier today. And so, yeah, so that's always nice when we get a happy ending on that. So, yeah, that's awesome. And then I was just thinking, just before we get into the Murder Sheet, because I know a lot of you are women that watch, and with the whole thing with Naomi and getting picked up from just, she's going to Walmart and she gets kidnapped. And it's just, I fear for everybody and their safety. And so I would just, if you guys can, it only costs like $10, but I got this from Amazon. And it's just a keychain, pepper spray. And, it's just got a little safety thing right here. You flip and spray. And, like I said, $10. This is like kind of like police standard stuff. I think it's like Sabre is the brand. But, for your women out there, please, safety first and get something like this, and protect yourselves. Because it reminded me of a friend that when I came out here to Utah, she told me about a story, and it almost happened just exactly how Naomi happened. And they went to the grocery store at Smith's at night, and there was a guy in the parking lot just kind of strolling along, wearing a hoodie and everything. And it kind of noticed him when they went in. And then when they came out, he was still out there wandering, and she was with her teenage daughter. And as they were walking to the car, he started following them. And so they ran to the car and got in. And he actually followed them all the way to the car. And luckily they got in and locked the door and nothing happened. But it could have been a whole lot worse. And so please just look out for one of yourselves, for everybody. If you're going into stores or coming out, try to wait for somebody to come out with, or ask somebody to escort you out. So George says Glock 40 cal. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm not a big gun person, so yeah, I have to go with the pepper spray. And it came with, I think I got this from Amazon. I think it came with the taser too, but I'm afraid like I might taser myself. So yeah, what's up 745? So yeah, I bought and still carry pepper spray. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's safety first. Like I said, it don't cost much for these little pepper sprays. you know. And I promise you, some of these things can pack a punch. They really do. If I get time, I'll have to tell you a story about when I worked at the bar and somebody accidentally, literally just let one of these small things off in a giant bar, and it literally like incapacitated everybody in the bar, and everybody thought it was like an anthrax attack. It was crazy. So yeah. So what's up, Heidi? All right. So big news. They the Murder Sheet put out another podcast this morning. And it just totally got overlooked because, you know, we had the thing with Naomi, you know, with her press conference, and then we have the Summer Wells stuff just been all coming out. So this really got overlooked. I don't know, you know, I'm sure there's some YouTubers been out there that covered it, but I haven't really seen anybody cover this, and I had no idea. So Kegan had a half brother named Bart, and who was Tony Kline's stepson. So they both shared the same mother, but Bart, you know, Tony Kline, Bart is the stepson to Tony Kline, and Bart Kline is the half brother to Kegan Kline. So, which is crazy. And so after they had released the first two parts to the police interview, apparently he emailed these the podcast team, and so they did an interview with him. So, and it's pretty interesting. Now I'm not gonna play it all because I don't want to steal their content, but I figure I would promote it, and we'll play the first 10 minutes of it, and then I'm gonna skip towards the end where they ask a few big questions, and it's pretty interesting. So let's get into it. What's up, Cat John? Congratulations. Cat John won a free shirt. We did a little free giveaway on Sunday, and we'll do another giveaway sometime soon again. So so I'm going to play a little bit. I'm just going to ask you if you guys can hear it, if you need me to turn it up or down. So I'm just going to start playing it, and let me know if the volume is good, okay? All right, is the connection okay, Alyssa? Let me just double check here. We going good? Put a 1 in the chat if everything's good before we start. Just want to make sure we're all good real quick before we start this. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, so let me know how the volume is. If it's too loud, I can turn it down a little bit.
I think one of my first memories is a birthday party.
Okay. All right, so here's where it starts. And so like I said, this is Bart. Bart shares the same mother with Kegan. But Tony Kline is his stepfather. So too loud. Okay, yeah, that's okay. I'll turn it down just a little bit. You got it. I was thinking a little loud too myself. So let's see how this is real quick.
We asked Bart to tell us how Tony Kline first came into his life.
Sweet.
So I met him. I mean, my earliest memories as a child,
just a tad
he
here.
was involved. I mean, I can remember
Bit loud. Okay, yeah.
I think one of my first memories is a birthday party when I was a kid, and I remember him being there. So
I think it was a little loud.
He was married to my mom when I was, you know, in elementary school, all the way up until they got divorced. I believe when I was...
Okay, so let me just, for Casey Jakes, who kind of brings up okay, so they were, so their mom's, so their mother was married to Tony Kline for a few years, and then he's going to tell the story, so, well, I'll just play it, because you'll figure out what the whole story is, so, because I know you guys got some questions, so, but he's going to explain everything kind of in the beginning, so...
6th grade, or maybe heading into the 7th.
So let me back it up just a little bit real quick.
I think one of my first memories is a birthday party when I was a kid, and I remember him being there. So he was married to my mom when I was, you know, in elementary school, all the way up until they got divorced. I believe when I was in the 6th grade, or maybe heading into the 7th grade. And so that's how I knew him. I mean, he was the person that I called dad for at least a period of my time, when I was a kid.
Absolutely. I know in your email to me, you said that he was the worst person you've ever known. And I guess, could I ask you to sort of expand
it up
upon
just
that
a little.
And tell us how you came to realize that?
Well, I mean, my childhood was surrounded by fear of him, and because of what an abusive person he was. Physical abuse is what was, brought on my sister, my mother, and me by this guy. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up thinking that was normal until I saw other kids at other, houses, and I would go over there and I realized things are different. And, I never was a kid that had friends over because I was terrified of what would happen if they were there. And so, I've never met anyone else like him because that was, I spent so much of my childhood fearing him that, to me, I just didn't think there was, anyone worse. And I still don't. I don't.
Okay, I turned it up just a little.
This hidden animosity where I sit around and I think about what happened towards him. I've forgiven all of that, but I still do, just the things that I witnessed as a kid and the feelings that I had. He is a very, in my opinion, an evil person, I would say.
How does he come across? Like, is it a situation where it's constant violence, or does he have like personality that he shows to the world and then it's different at home?
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both, because I do remember him either being diagnosed or my mother saying he was bipolar, and that's the way it seemed to me. He did have this persona that he put forth that was, a nice guy, but it wasn't. I don't think people that would even know him in a day-to-day life, I don't think they're going to think of him as some nice guy. He doesn't hide being that person very well. And at least when I was a child, I mean, there was things in public that was physical, not one time. I mean, it was more than once. And many of the kids, I think, knew that I had issues going on at home. And it was just one of those things that, I just felt like, I guess I thought it was normal, for a long time, until you find out it's not.
Absolutely. Could you describe sort of the acts of violence that he sort of perpetrated against you and your sister and your mom?
So a lot of times they would stem from just being at dinner, and I remember a plate getting smashed against the wall and spaghetti being on the wall, and that's how I feel like a lot of times it all started, was when it was, maybe it was just when we were together, all gathered around. But, so, I saw my sister throw through a door before. I saw Tony, on top of my mom, physically punching her multiple times. We went to Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, and my mom would have black eyes, a broken nose, be wearing glasses. And it wasn't...
Okay, so I don't want to steal other content. And like I said, I'm going to play with some more and stuff. But, so I need to kind of like commentate a little bit so that way I'm not stealing their content. So the story that he's describing, so for those who had heard the interview with Kegan Kline and on part 2, and they talk about where they tell him a scenario about what if a guy takes and beats his mother and then takes the child, smashes his head against the toilet seat, cracks his orbital socket, and then dunks him. And he asks Kegan, they tell him the scenario, And then they say, well, what would you do if that happened? And, he says, oh, well, that guy should be killed. He has no idea, Kegan at this time, had no idea this was his half-brother that happened to. So, yeah, crazy. What he's talking about where his mother, where he's saying he's on top of his mother beating her, so that was all the same scenario. So just to kind of give you a little context to that.
It just was not a hidden thing. And so that's really, I think that was mostly what it was just very physical. And he's a big dude, or at least, I haven't seen him in years, but at least he was. And, that's what I remember, is him being much bigger than us and, just punching a lot.
I'm so sorry that you and your family went through that. That's horrific, and to see that as a kid, I'm in terms of how that sort of also manifested itself. It just sounds like, he sounds like he was sort of a bully in the household. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was no contradicting him whatsoever. There was, if we're sitting in the room watching something in the evening time and you get up to get a drink of water without asking him if you can get up to get a drink of water, then that usually resorted to violence. So yes, he's very, very, if he is not the one making all decisions, he cannot control himself, in my opinion.
Did he have like a social circle? You mentioned that he had a hard time keeping this side of him under wraps, even in public.
Yeah, I remember a few of his friends. I don't really remember their names, but I remember a consistent few people that he would either go. There was a couple guys that they rode motorcycles together, and they went to like sprint car races together, and so there were a few of the same guys, but I would have no clue what their names were. I do remember their faces and their consistency though.
Right. That makes sense. And did he, with you guys, you and your sister being his stepchildren, did he was there any sort of attempt at first to make you guys I'm just kind of curious in terms of did he try to cultivate a relationship with you at all, or it almost sounds like it just sort of was awful all around, and I'm just trying to get a sense of what that dynamic was.
I would say no. I think he did make an attempt to be a father figure, and tried to make an attempt to do things I remember him coming to football and baseball and things, but in the same time, my last name was my father's last name, my family's last name, but yet with no legal reason, they went to the school and had me use his last name for 2 years. I was Bart Kline, and that drove me crazy. It drove my dad crazy. And the school just, it just happened. Mom just went there, and that's what my name was, and so that's what it was. And not to blame her at all. This was Tony's doing. He wanted everything about him. And so even though my name was not Klein, I was, for a year of football and wrestling and baseball, I was Bart Kline. And it was this huge thing with all my friends, and my coaches were confused, and I hated it. It was very embarrassing for me, but that's just one instance of his just where he has to be the dominant figure,
Right.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it there, and I'll play some more here. So yeah, for those that are just coming in, this is, so a lot of I didn't even know this until this morning. So Kegan had a half-brother. They shared the same mother, who was Bart, and he lived with Kegan and Tony Kline, who was his stepfather. I'm not sure how many years, but not for very long. They made the poor kid change his name in school. Yeah, that would be terrible. He didn't want to be He didn't want to be Bart Kline. But apparently later on we'll find out that his mother, got sick of him and they left. And then he didn't really keep in touch with Kegan. He kept in touch with Kegan, but not with Tony. And so, but this kind of happened early on. This is, kind of like, not way, but this is like in, early, like, 2000, like, about 10 years before the incident, probably somewhere around in there.
Forget what my stepson will think or how this will affect him. I need to show my ownership almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of like, I mean, some of this really horrific abuse and sort of physical abuse. Do you know at any point if he came on law enforcement radar for any of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I think I was in the 4th grade, or in between. I think I was going into the 3rd grade, and because we still lived in Peru, and we basically one night I had a bathroom in my room, and it constantly clogged and had an issue. Hold on one second, my son is right next to me. I need to
take your time.
Just a minute. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, yeah, no worries. And take your time if you have to, take any breaks or anything like that.
Yeah, so I remember I had a bathroom in my bedroom, and it constantly clogged. And he was always pissed off about it. He was always, mad that he was in there trying to fix it. So that was, like, basically off limits to me. Well, I think I either needed to go really bad. Maybe it was, for whatever reason I used it. And it clogged. And so I went and told my mom, and he overheard. So he came into the room. He pulled me into the room and shoved my head down the toilet, and then onto the sink, and then out into my bedroom, like tossed me out into the bedroom. And so he went to go grab a plunger, and I just ran out of my room. And I ran out the front door, and it was raining. I don't remember what time of night it was, but it was dark, and it was raining. And I turned left, and I just ran to, I think it's State Road 19 was the closest road, I believe. And so I ran to that corner, and I was just sticking my thumb out like I needed a ride. And this car stopped, and this guy got out, and he comes over to me, and he said, "Bart, what are you doing?" And it was my baseball coach. And he took me into his truck or his Jeep, then went to his house. And I remember there was like a family gathering or something because I remember walking into the house, and there was like, it just seemed like there was a lot of people there for what would be this house. And they surrounded me, and they were asking me what happened. And then I was telling them. They called the cops. And so Tony went to jail that night, and I went back home. And he couldn't see us I can't remember the exact amount of time, but he had a no contact order with my mom, myself, and my sister. And he did his time that he got on the weekend. So he would go to jail like every weekend for, I don't know the time frame. And then got back that I was entering, this was over a year's time, I believe, because I think I was going into the 5th grade when he came back into like my life after I thought he was gone for good. And him and mom just tried to work on things. And there wasn't, that I can remember, there wasn't more physical violence after that when he came back the second time, but it was still very demeaning and raised his fist multiple times like he would do it. But I don't remember him actually doing it the second time.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it right there. So, yeah, so that story he just told was the story, like I was just telling you guys, that's the story where he, the toilet apparently would clog up, and Tony told him not to be using it, and he couldn't help himself. He's a kid. Excuse me. And apparently he had to use it, and it clogged. He tried to tell his mom. Tony overheard, and he got mad and started beating the mother, and then took him and smashed him against the toilet, and I think the sink, and then dunked his head. And so, yeah, that was the story that, they had told Kegan, what do you think we should do with this guy? And Kegan at the time had no idea, that they were talking about what his father did, which was kind of crazy. So I'm going to play just about like a few minutes more, because like I said, I don't want to be stealing their content. And then I'm going to skip ahead to an interesting part. Hopefully I can find it towards the end, where they ask him a few questions about what he thinks about the connection with Delphi and stuff. So like I said, I won't play just a few more minutes, because like I said, it's only about an hour, it's 52 minutes, and like I said, I don't want to be taking all their content. I'm just trying to promote it. Yeah, fractured his orbital socket. Yeah, apparently he even goes on to say he still has like a scar from that whole issue. And so, yeah, absolutely terrible. Luckily, the family gets out, shortly after they try to reconcile, and so that's good. So, Suppressa, so we're just going over Kegan's half-brother, Bart, who lived with Tony Kline for a few years, and he's just sharing his story on how Tony treated him, who was his stepfather, and then he kind of talks about Kegan obviously as well, and we'll learn that Kegan is just an absolute habitual liar, which we kind of assumed, because with all these jobs that he has, and he even talks about it in this, about how Kegan's telling him that he's a security guard, and then he's a blackjack dealer, and we find out that Kegan apparently told Bart that he was been living in Vegas for like years and stuff, and come to find out he'd only been out there for days, not years. So the whole Vegas thing was real short, much shorter than I even thought. So, like I said, I'll play just a little bit more, and then I'm going to skip ahead to some of the big questions, and then we'll discuss a few things, because I know it's kind of getting late. And I appreciate everybody coming in, tuning in. I know it's for me, it's kind of getting late, and I know it's probably a lot of you the same. So, but thank you guys so much for being polite in the chat. I know this is tough, because this is, this is tough to hear. And I know some of us who've been through abuse like that as kids, it brings up old stuff, and so yeah, I agree, Jill. So we'll play just a little bit more, and then we'll skip ahead to a few things. So thank you, Crystal P. You're awesome. Everybody's been so awesome. Thank you guys being respectful in the chat.
And then thankfully, Mom just couldn't put up with it anymore, and eventually they separated when I was in the 6th grade. And I don't remember seeing him again after that until probably 3 years ago. I saw him. And that's the first time I had seen him since I was a kid. So.
Wow. Jesus.
Can you tell us about where you saw him and what happened?
Yeah, I saw him at the movie theater. I was standing in line. I've even texted a couple of my friends to try to find out who was with me that day, and I haven't been able to find out. But I remember I was just standing in line at the movie theater, and a hand was on, like someone placed their hand on my shoulder. And I turned, and it was Tony. And I kind of recognized him, but I wasn't 100% sure who he was. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, Bart, what's up? And as soon as I heard his voice, then I knew who it was. And, like, we were cordial. He acted like he had missed me, and that, how was I doing? And he said he was proud of me. And, that was it, and that was the only time. And then he got back in line, and I turned around and didn't ever think about it, see him again. So,
Jesus, I'm curious. Your half brother Kegan. sort of what was their dynamic like, and could you describe him at all?
Well, I know Kegan didn't really, at least on the outside for me, I didn't feel like they were super close, although Kegan almost always lived with them. Once he left living at my mom's house, Kegan lived with him for years. I mean, I think up until he had this, like, he had moved into an apartment in Kokomo, but so he had been with his dad, you know, most of the time. Kegan wasn't one to, like, speak ill of him, really. I don't know that Kegan even knew really what happened when, like, I was a kid. I surely never told him. I don't know if my sister did or what, but he always knew that I wanted nothing to do with his father. He would have me drop him off, you know, and he would say, "Oh, come inside for a minute," and I'm like, "No, dude, you know, I'm not coming inside. You know, I'm dropping you off at your dad's house and see ya." And but he would always invite me, and you know, so I think he at least knew that there was like animosity between the two of us, but I don't know that he knew the extent of the abuse. As far as them being close, you know, Kegan like, for me, I always hated Tony with all my, like, everything. Kegan never had that feeling. They weren't super close, like, this is my dad and son. It was more like, this is my buddy, like, this is my friend. At least that was my interpretation of it. Tony wasn't ever like this person that would hold Kegan responsible for anything he ever did. You know, he would never, you know, crack down when Kegan would do things stupid. Whereas, you know, the one moment that any of us bring up anything, you know, why are you doing that? Kegan would explode, and, you know, there's no talking to him, just like his dad was. So.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there, because like I said, I don't want to be taking all their content, and then I'm going to skip it forward to some interesting big questions that I want you guys to hear, which is, and then I encourage you guys to go and listen to the full thing to support these guys, because this is pretty big. I mean, I think this is big news for a lot of people that had no idea that he had a half brother. You know, because I remember I looked up when all this came out. I looked up kind of like the family tree, and I never came across this guy. Sorry, I still have that frog in my throat. And so yeah, for a few of those that are just coming in, like I said, this is Kegan's half brother, Bart, and he's just kind of describing how Tony Kline was really abusive to him, and it got so bad that there was a certain incident, and then he got apparently Tony Kline had to go to jail during the weekends, and this went on for like a year apparently. And I think someone sent me an email with a mugshot of Tony Kline, and I think it's from that incident, and I wish I would have pulled that out, but I don't want to pull up my email. But I think I have the actual mugshot from that, which is whoever sent that to me. Thank you. Because I was wondering what that mugshot was from, but I think it's from that incident, which is pretty crazy. So, like I said, I'm going to skip forward here in just a minute. I don't listen to that podcast. Okay, Kathy. That's okay. But like I said, I want to steal their content and play the entire thing, because that'd just be rude. So, But I'll give you basically the cliff notes, and so I'm going to skip it forward. But basically, he talks. They start kind of talking more about Kegan, and he just kind of says that, you know, Kegan was basically a liar, and and then they kind of talk about Kegan's relationship to Tony Kline, which I thought they were a lot closer, but from what Bart says, they're not they're not apart, but they're not, you know, as close as you would think they were. But and then towards the end, he talks about how Tony Kline was a hunter, which is interesting. But unfortunately, he, you know, well, actually, I wouldn't say unfortunately. fortunately, he wasn't living with them around the time that these girls were murdered, so he doesn't really know what they were actually doing, because, him and his mom got out. Luckily, his mom got out of the relationship early on, so they didn't have to put up with Tony's abusiveness. So let me skip it forward here. And if you can hit the likes, that'll help put the stream out. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to skip it forward here. I'm going to I should have wrote down the timestamp on this, but I think it's about right here. I'm going to skip it around a little bit. I want to get to the important questions real quick.
I don't remember how much younger she was, but she looked long-term dating, and they was, for me, like, I don't have my actual Bart name. It's really weird how it's weird how it affects your, like, thought process towards them, because yes, you feel like you've been lied to, like your entire life, like all these things. Like, I felt like him and I were fairly I'm just going to be honest. All
right. Here's where the big questions come.
I can't imagine also.
Okay, so I'm just skipping forward because, like I said, I want to play everything, but I'm going to skip to some of the big questions they ask him that we're all kind of wondering. What does he think about the connections and stuff? So this is kind of where they start asking that. So I think it's pretty interesting. So
what your mom's going through right now.
And then I had a question. You talked about hearing Tony's voice at the movie theater a few years ago. I was curious. I assume you've heard the audio of the person on the bridge saying, "Guys, down the hill." Did that sound like it could have been Tony to you?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean...
And I'm going to play more, and I'm going to have to honest, I don't know if you guys caught my show, but we compared, I'd gotten a hold of some audio of Tony Kline. It's apparently it's his like voicemail message, greeting or whatever, and I played it and I kind of compared it. I'm going to be honest, I don't think it sounds like him, but what's just crazy, because Kegan does. I think Kegan sounds more like him. I don't think it's exact, but I'd have to agree. That's the only thing is Tony Kline's voice does not. It's more higher pitched, and he's going to explain this in a minute, and I'm sorry for cutting it off, but it just... That's the only thing is it's like there's more stuff that comes out about these Kegans and the Klines and stuff, or the Klines, but it's like I get more invested and think there's something there's a connection, and then it's like the more stuff comes out, the less I think that that those two directly were involved, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Just because, well, I'll play it and then we'll discuss it to the end.
He has like a very kind of high-pitched, weird voice. Like it's not deep at all.
That's true, Grudge.
So yeah, I did not think it was Tony.
Did it sound like Kegan?
It did sound like Kegan. I will be honest.
He seems devastated.
I'm just gonna be honest. I did. It did sound like him to me. Yeah.
Really?
Gosh.
That's crazy. I'm going to pause it and I'm going to play just a little bit more, but it is crazy. Like, he's actually, like, speechless right now. Like, I know. A lot of people are going to be like, what, it's crazy. So the only thing is I know, it's like the build of Kegan. Let me just pull up, let's see. Let me see if I got the one with them. See, here's kind of Kegan. His frame just seems a little too big for Bridge Guy, And Tony fits more of the frame, So but I don't know. Like I said, it's like the more stuff comes out, it's like, oh, this is crazy. But yeah, it almost deters me more from thinking, they were directly involved. But I still think the catfishing thing holds a lot of, I still think that could be a big part. So I'm going to play a little bit more here.
Did they either of them go to Delphi ever? Was that some place they would have hung out or knew about?
I mean, I really didn't. At the point Kegan got arrested, we had not, heck, when the cops originally called me and asked me, I didn't remember when the last time I had even seen him. I had only seen him a couple times since he got back from Vegas, and I would have no clue if they do anything over in Delphi. I mean, we grew up right near Delphi. We grew up in Cass County, and so we've all been familiar with that area. I mean, we fish around there quite often. We did when we were kids anyway. Well, he was much younger, but when I was in my high school years, we'd fish back around Burlington in the Delphi area and Wildcat Creek, and so yeah, we'd have knowledge of it, but I have no clue what either of those two were doing when they got back.
I want to jump to the Vegas thing, because I think that's super interesting, like this elaborate ruse of, I moved to Vegas, by everybody. Do you remember how that came up? Was it sort of sudden, or was that something where they were, okay, a month from now I'm going to be going to Vegas?
Oh, yeah, no, it was planned. He has told me, he's told me so many different things that are just astronomical, things that are where he's told me he's purchased land in other states, and I'm like, dude, you barely can pay your rent. How'd you do this? And so I always learn to take things that he says with a grain of salt, but at the same time, yeah, he was very open about our plan is to move to Las Vegas. He told me he was working at a place where they grew weed and delivered weed, and his job was basically to pick it up and deliver it to these people, whenever they ordered it. And so he, as far as I knew, was doing that. And then he was going to school to be a blackjack dealer, I guess. He told me he was doing that. And he was working at some casino where they were training him to be a blackjack dealer. And then he was also told me he was working at a warehouse where he was carrying a gun and patrolling this big weed warehouse. He said his only job was to be on this golf cart with a gun, and that he had to patrol around. So these are the different stories that I would get. It was totally planned. It didn't seem spur of the moment to go to Las Vegas. And then when he said he was gone, I mean, we thought he was gone,
Right.
I stopped seeing him, so,
Yeah, why would you think different? I mean, he says he's going there, maybe you're okay, he's exaggerating about his work, but you could assume he's probably there.
Yeah. Can I just say thank you guys for being so polite in the chat and being respectful to everybody's opinions. Like I said, I know everybody's got so many different opinions. This has been 5 years. So much is coming out, and there's so many different directions this thing could be going. And so there could be so many different ways that this thing's going to play out. And but this is all for, helping to solve Abby and Libby's murder. That's the big thing. Yeah, you'll have to, Lady M, you'll have to send me a message, email me that, because I can't remember the red car thing. I know the CPS building and everything, but I don't remember. I remember hearing about a white Dodge Dart, and that was way in the beginning, but I think that's been debunked, but I could be wrong. That might have just, because some people just say, things just to say it, but yeah, you'll have to email me that, because I'm very interested in reading about that. So, so I'm going to play about 2-3 more minutes, because like I said, I want to be stealing all their content, and then we'll just kind of discuss a little bit, because it's getting kind of late for me, and probably quite a few of you. So, but thank you guys, everybody, for being so awesome in the chat and respectful.
Yeah, and we don't live in the same town. We don't work. I've never known him to have a job, so it's like I wouldn't have seen him like running into him. So, yeah, I don't know. It was definitely weird.
This is a weird question, but did Tony, did he always work at the Kokomo transmission plant? And I mean, what was his financial situation when you were in the same household as him?
Oh, all that guy ever talked about is how much money he made. Yeah, I remember one time the police officer came and knocked on the door when we lived in Young America, and there was this old beater car, this blue car he kept around. I don't remember what for, but he hardly ever drove it. But this cop came and said, knocked on the door, and I answered it, and Tony was mowing the yard. And so the cop kind of walked out towards him. Tony hopped off the mower and met him in the middle. And the guy was like, "Sir, we've had a report of this blue car being involved, or a car that looks like this being involved in like stealing gas." And he like flipped on this cop and was like, "I made $93,000 last year. Like, I don't need to steal gas and blah, blah, blah." But yeah, so back then, he worked at Chrysler, as far as I knew, the whole time. Maybe still does, I don't know. But, he always talked about how much money he had.
Right, absolutely. And did he always work third shift?
That's a good question. I really don't know. When I was a kid, I seem to think he would always be home when I got out of school. So it makes sense if it was third shift. I wouldn't know, though. I can't remember.
Absolutely.
I had a question here. We happened to get a copy of a part of a transcript from when the police...
So I'm going to play this last little bit, and then we'll just kind of discuss for like 5-10 minutes, and then...
We're questioning Kegan right after he was arrested, and I wanted to read just a small part of it to check something with you. One of the officers says, "We had this case a while back. This little kid was in the bathroom and overflowed the toilet. So he yells for help, and the dad gets pissed off, comes at the kid. Mom intervenes. The dad punches the mother. She runs away. He chases her down, hits her, bites her in the stomach, runs back inside, slams the kid's head into the toilet, fractures his orbital socket, puts him upside down, and starts dunking his head into the toilet that was overflowed." That sounds like the incident you were describing. I just wanted to confirm, is the child in that story you?
That was me.
And
So like I said, I encourage you guys, if you guys are interested to hear the whole thing, I got the link, it's at the top. It's 52 minutes. This is by the Murder Sheet. They did a great job. One of them's a lawyer, and I guess being a lawyer, you get some perks that you can get a hold of certain documents, and so apparently they got a hold of the transcripts for the interview with Kegan Kline, and then after they did that podcast, Bart had listened to it. And then he had emailed these guys, and then they obviously did this interview, and so which is just crazy because like I said, this is a lot of us did not know that he had a half brother, and we've learned that Tony Kline is not a good person. Because I'll be honest, because the thing about the internet and YouTube and everything is, we really have to be careful about putting out names, because a lot of times people want to put out names or put photos next to sketches, and, if they're not really involved, it can tear someone's life apart, because people get so invested and so tunnel vision. And so, we have to, be respectful, and but this is crazy. But like I said, in my opinion, if he would have said it sounded like Tony Kline, then I'd been like, oh my gosh, I think Tony Kline is bridge guy. In my opinion. But it is crazy that he says that it sounds like Kegan. Like he pauses, which is really interesting. But yes, as a lot of you have mentioned, yes, the audio to the bridge guy is, obviously distorted, and so it's in somebody's pocket, so it's not going to be a perfect match. But it is interesting that Kegan actually fits where, in my opinion, I think Tony Kline's build fits bridge guy closer than than Kegan's, in my opinion. But this is interesting to learn that Tony Kline is, sounds like he was a real piece of work, and so now I don't feel as bad talking about him, and because it sounds like he was just not a good person, at least when it comes to parenting. And so you guys, Alexa, she thinks that both were at the bridge. Okay, interesting. Maverick, this guy Bart, is it? Sounds like Kegan Kline too. Yeah, but Bart, yeah, he's not. He's he'd only lived with them for a while, and then he moved. I can't remember if you listen to the podcast. I think he says where they moved to, but yeah, I think they got out of town because they were done with Tony Kline. Thank you, yeah, this has been a great chat. It's been a great show. You guys have been so respectful. I thank you guys so much. Yeah, I would love to go to the bridge and do some filming, but I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's. It would be a 2-day drive, and oh man, I would love to go. If it was close, if it was in the same state, I would be going out there almost every other weekend and trying some different experiments, because I definitely would love to try a couple of different things that I'm curious. Especially with the phone ringing, I've always been kind of curious if you could hear a phone ringing, because we know that Libby's phone actually rang when her dad was trying to call her. So it's just there's a lot of little things scenarios that I would have loved to try out, but I'm still gonna do experiments. I just can't do it on the actual bridge. And if you guys had followed my channel, I did some stuff. Yeah, I do. I've watched Anthony Garino, and I think he's done some amazing work. Excuse me. And it's sad that he, his circumstances, I'm not going to get too much into that because that's not my business, but I think his heart's been in the right place, I think, for what he's done. So APAP, I don't think Abby or KK would cross the bridge. Kegan. Oh, I think you meant Tony, or I think I know what you said. I think I know what you mean, Jones. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about Kegan, but you never know, But so my final thoughts just for the night is, I said it's so weird because just more stuff comes out about these guys, but it don't fit the build for me as far as that, in my opinion. And there's just but I still think the catfishing, in my opinion, I still think somebody, because Kegan, law enforcement, if you guys had followed the first 2 transcripts, law enforcement is convinced that there's 2 different people that were interacting with, that were using the Anthony Shots account. They were convinced. Because there is, like what they say, there's 2 different personalities when they're talking, when a so-called account is talking with girls. They're convinced that there's 2 different personalities. So they think that, Kegan may know, who, or somebody's, but, so I still think that holds a lot of weight, and I think that there still could be something involved with the Kline somehow, one way or another. But as far as this coming out, I don't know. like I said, I'm sure a lot of people too are like each day. I took some calls the other day, and I think a lot of people probably are on the fence. And think this person one day and then somebody else the next day. So Broken 20. I wonder if Tony was using the same account that Kegan. Yeah. See. We don't know. Kegan always says that it was friend 1 or friend 2 that was. He always tries to throw friend 1 and I think friend 2. I know friend 1 for sure under the bus about whoever else was using the phone, and he says that his dad didn't know the password and stuff, so he could be protecting his dad, and we know now that he's just an absolute terrible liar. So. He could be just protecting his dad. So yes, that's what law enforcement says. Is the voice comes from the men in the video. So they have confirmed that. So let me just see a few more. There's a certain irony with the bridge guys. Someone possibly being under the bridge and internet and trolls. Yeah, the end of the path of the bridge was him funneling his prey to the point, no return. Yeah, I think he knew. Yeah, definitely, this person knew that area. And if you guys had ever seen some of the interviews with, I think it's Abby's mom, she says this place is not easy to find. Like, you can see the Freedom Bridge and stuff, but the actual Delphi Bridge is something that's, like, known to the locals. So they really feel like it's, someone that's close to Delphi. And Young America, Peru, they're all like 30 minutes of Delphi. They're all just like right in there. So they're all close. So your mom, I really feel like it was more than one person involved. Possibly. I personally don't think so, just because I think if there was more than one person involved, I feel like with it gone this long that one of them would have slipped up if it was 2 people. That's just my opinion though. But we don't know. The hunter. Yep, that's right, Alex. Yep, that's right. TK. Yep, we learned that Tony Kline in this interview. If you listen to the whole thing, we learned that he is a hunter and a fisher. Apparently, after the murders, the law enforcement was going to. They were going to like local shops that sold knives, and were looking at a particular knife that you would use for fish. So that's interesting. I am so sorry. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name, but thank you for showing up. Oh man, I don't even want to butcher it, but thank you so much. I'm just going to say CS for right now, buddy. Kegan's friend on the murder sheet. On the murder sheet, he said Kegan's very soft and not physical or the outdoors type. Right. Very good point. Great that you keep this. Yeah, thank you, Heidi. Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah. Do we know the height of Kegan Kline and his dad? So, from what they say, now this is only speculation, is Kegan says that he is, I think it was 5'11". You guys could correct me. I know some of you in the chat follow this case just as much as I do, if not more. I think he tells them that he's like 5'11" or something. And then I think he says his dad is about the same height. I think he says dad's 5'10" or 5'11" as well. I think the dad's, it looks like the dad's a little bit taller in my opinion. But, and then we know that, Anthony Greeno had went out and did a test where he was trying to do the height, and yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, yep. Yeah, 5'11". He said, yeah, you guys are awesome. You guys are on it. So, yeah, it was 5'11" and 6 feet. Yep. So, now Anthony Greeno went out to the bridge, and he stood where Bridge Guy was filmed at, and they had people filming where Libby was filming at, and they deduced that they feel like it was about 5'8". Now, of course, you've got the bridge that the boards are not even. So, and we'll just, as I'm doing my final thoughts here, let's play the, might as well just play the video while we're talking about it. It's right here. But the thing is that the bridge is, it's the boards are not all level, so you're always gonna have some of that, a little bit of variation. So, but yeah, here's somebody walking the bridge, and the bridge is just, what this doesn't give away is how high this thing is. She does look down sometimes, but I really don't think this really captures the full. I'm afraid of heights, and I would not even be on that bridge. You couldn't get me near that bridge, to be honest with you. Maybe it's a good thing that I'm not near this bridge, because I'd probably find a way to fall off or something. So, did they? No, Deb Star, no. We just learned that Kegan's half brother came out and talked about Tony Kline. Gosh, I wish they had something. Man, I really wish they had something. But hopefully they're close. I really feel this case will be solved one way or another. I think that if it's not within, the next year or so, I really think that DNA will be more involved, more advanced, and I do think they have some kind of DNA, and that it would be just kind of like the Golden State murders, where they have advancements in the DNA, and they kind of they did that family tree with D'Angelo, and that's how they caught him, and they kind of. So it's just amazing. Sorry, I missed what Dog Defender said here real quick. Gray may have good videos, but he's rude. Yeah, I really don't want to speak too much about Gray. I think he does amazing work. I guess I could just say it's too bad that he rubs some people the wrong way, because I think he has his heart in the right place, but I just think he does rub some people the wrong way, and it's too bad, because I do get that a lot, but I have no animosity towards him. He does great work, and that's all I'll just say about that. So I would have bent over. Yeah, I would have crawled across it. So yeah. So anyway, guys, you guys have been so amazing in the chat. I'm so glad all of you guys showed up this late. I was kind of worried that it probably wouldn't have been that big of a video, but yeah, I couldn't even. Yeah, I agree, Russian. Yeah, it would have been tough to go across this thing. So okay, Rona, I'll check it. I hope this gets solved. Me too. Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel. It's just, what happened to the guy who they arrested last time? I think you're thinking of gosh, what's his name? Yeah, I can't even think of it. I've got so many names, but no, he's not. It's not him. So I know who you're thinking of, though, because he was a good fit. He was actually a perfect build for him too. Yeah, Chadwick the second. I think that's who you're thinking of, Deb, is Chadwick. Because a lot of people think that he was a great candidate for them. Chadwell, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you guys are so awesome. So, but all right, guys. So that'll do it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys have been so amazing. Yeah. I wonder how long BJ was hanging out next to the bridge waiting for the girls. Yeah, it's hard to say. But Chadwell, he'll be in prison for life, right? So, yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Good night, Jill. Good night, Lady M. Thank you guys. Look at everybody, Chadwell. See, everybody knows. Everybody's like so on this case. So, yeah. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Kathy, Linda, Danielle. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. This was a great video and great chat. You guys have been so respectful. I appreciate it. It really just helps. So, good night to everybody. I love you guys. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much.